All right, Bothell City Council is back from break. We're going to start with AB 18-022 Board and Commission appointments and council communications. I wanted to start this out. This is a little bit off the memo, but I've received, and I know there's some issues with one of our commissions, so I was hoping that we could talk about that as a council, and I can't make a motion, but potentially have a motion to address the issue, because I want to take it before we start voting or nominating people for these boards and commissions. So I'll just get right into it. So the Arts and Festivals Committee, we initiated this committee about a year ago, and it originally was just going to be for the arts. And at the council meeting, one of the council members made a suggestion to add festivals, because that was one of our priorities as a council, was to have more festivals for the community. That was something we were hearing from the community that it was important that we did. And so we added festivals to the committee, and I just got to be honest with you, from the feedback I'm getting from board members that are actually on the committee and some staff reports, that things aren't working out so well. The committee is pretty dysfunctional. They're having a hard time kind of finding their way. If you could recall, last year they did come back and we tried to give them some further direction, and quite frankly, I don't think we did that good of a job. But at the end of the day, there basically is no money for festivals, so that part of their job, they're basically talking about something that doesn't exist. In the past, we've had the festivals handled by the Parks Board. So to try something new, what I would like to do, what I would propose, and I'd like to do this by a motion if council wanted to make a motion, but I would like to eliminate festivals from this committee, and it's just focus on arts, and if a festivals committee need comes up, that we have it handled by the Parks Board. Deputy Mayor.
I couldn't agree more. I actually called someone who applied for arts last year and asked her, because she was a great candidate. I asked her to apply, and she said, "No way, I've been to their meetings." I originally didn't vote to add festivals. I was concerned that it would be confusing, and so I'm happy to make the motion to change the Arts and Festivals Commission to arts. There's nothing in the was an ordinance we passed to create it, whatever the paperwork was that kind of set it all up. There was nothing addressed there in terms of festivals. All we did was tack on the word festivals. So I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
It's moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Agnew, to eliminate the festivals portion of the Arts Committee and stick to the original ordinance that established the Arts Committee to begin with. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councilmember McAuliffe.
So I'm sorry, coffee pot was slow. Could you tell me why we would not have the festival as part of the Arts Commission? I mean, I guess I missed that if I didn't hear you.
Yeah, that's okay. I was just talking about it. Just so people are here that know, Councilmember McAuliffe was not at the dais when I was talking about it. What we've seen is that the festivals aspect of the committee has really caused some problems with the committee. They're having a hard time kind of functioning basically at this point, and the proposal is to not eliminate the use of a committee for festivals. Is actually to put it back with the Parks and Recreation Board, and then let the Arts Committee focus on the aspects of just being an arts committee. We want to take this up now because that might weigh in on how we decide who should be on that committee, and so I just wanted to threw it out there to the council. We've had a motion and a second to eliminate the festivals aspect of the Arts and Festivals Committee, and so they're focused solely on arts. And then if there is a need, so currently right now we don't really have a budget for a bunch of festivals. That is one of the council priorities, was to have more festivals to celebrate our community, but we have no budget. So perhaps maybe next year it makes sense to move it back, but it seems like it's worked well in the past in the Parks Board handling festivals, and so putting it back there hopefully will alleviate the problems we're seeing in the Arts and Festivals Committee.
And if I may, does the Parks have any money for festivals?
No. But they have used volunteers and
Right.
donations and things like that in the past. So like the 4th of July festival is a good example that the city does have some resources to bear for festivals. But as a council, we at least last year, I don't know if that was really a council priority in our retreat that we had in January, but it's something that we really were interested in, to try to up our game basically, and how many festivals the community has and how many the city contributes to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So we do have a motion and a second on the floor to eliminate the festivals aspect of the Arts and Festivals Committee. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead and place your vote. Passes 6-2 with Councilmember McAuliffe as an abstention. Did you want to speak to your abstention? We usually let people, if they would like.
I guess I'm just concerned that our festivals will be able to function as well, and I really care a lot about our festivals in Bothell. I think they bring a lot of tourism to our town, and I just want to make sure that we can build a volunteer group that can do that. So I'll be working on that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so back onto the script here for the appointments. We have in front of us a tally sheet, basically, and the city clerk, you were gonna handle this part of the meeting, right?
Yeah, I will. Just as a background, on January 30th, last Tuesday, council interviewed applicants for openings on several of our boards and commissions, which included Arts and Festivals at the time Commission, Landmark Preservation Board, Library Board, Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Parks and Recreation Board, and Planning Commission. So tonight we are asking you to fill those vacancies, and you have ballots in front of you. We will, as required by the Bothell Protocol Manual, we do have to have written ballots. So council will cast the same number of votes as there are vacancies. For example, if you'll vote 3 times for 3 vacancies. Once you're done, I will collect the ballots and we will tally them. I'm going to ask that you either, we take a break or you move into the second part of our board and commission aspect tonight of the communications with those, and the mayor will take over that part while we're tallying the votes. And just a majority vote of the council members present is needed for any appointment. So if we need to go more than 1 round, we can do that. I have tally sheets to go up to 3 rounds tonight. And if we need to extend on any of the boards and commissions, for example, Landmark Preservation Board or LTAC, or even Shorelines, we can do so. I'm prepared to extend the recruitment for those boards if needed.
So I just wanted to add, Carrie Westerbeck had an alternate for the Landmark Board. And then you had Sean Gerke, but I personally contacted Anthony Gomes because I knew there was a possibility he wouldn't get library since there are 2 positions and 3 spots. And I asked him if he would be at all interested in the Landmark Board, and he said he was willing to serve. So Anthony Gomes is also available for Landmark Board. I knew that it would be an issue because we have 5 openings, so I just wanted to offer that to everyone else on council.
Okay.
Did you guys all get that? Do you want her to repeat those? You got it? Okay. Councilmember Zorns?
We can only vote, I mean, if a person's name falls in one place, we can only put
They
them
can
in
only serve
one.
on 1 board at a time.
So only vote
Yeah,
for
there's-
one
yes,
of them.
Yes.
But you can vote for the same person on different boards. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah, you can vote any way you want to, basically. Just
Okay.
don't vote for more people than there's positions
Okay.
in each
And then
board.
can I ask one other question?
Sure.
Looking at this, I see some of these names have asterisks by them, and I don't see what that refers to.
The asterisks were for if they had interest in the Shorelines Board, because originally when we advertised, we need 7 people because we're going to reinstate that board, and we only had 3 applicants, but we did have a couple of people that expressed that as an alternate, not enough to fill the board. So that's, and then like David, for example, David Bain, his primary, and David Cox, their primary interest is Shorelines, but they also put as an alternate for Parks and Recreation. So yeah, it's a little confusing.
And then as you're filling out your ballot, if you guys want to, in the past, people have recommended or said who they're interested in voting for, and that's okay to do at this time if you guys want to. I'd rather people didn't say who they don't want you to vote for, just out of politeness to the candidates, so. Councilor McNeil?
Can I get a, Deputy Mayor, can you clarify those two names again for Landmark?
So Carrie Westerbeck's name is under planning, and it doesn't note, but it's in our packet that he was also available for the Landmark Preservation Board. Sean Gerke said in the interview he was available for Landmark Preservation Board, and then I contacted Anthony Gomes and asked if he would be willing, depending on how the vote worked out, to be on the Landmark Board, and he said yes. So Anthony Gomes was the last name.
So I guess once you're done with your voting sheets, if you let me know, and I will collect those and we'll tally the votes while the mayor talks about the second part, which is the council communication with our various boards and commissions.
Okay, so while they're tallying up the votes, we have the second part of this agenda item. So I'm going to pass these out, and these are the listing of each board or committee, and also the municipal code and the staff liaison. And that'll make sense here in just a second when we talk about it. Grab one, pass it down. So one of the things that was identified by the council and I think staff too is that we feel somewhat separated from our boards and commissions, and we don't feel like we have a really good tie to them and understanding what's going on their commissions. So there's some options in the agenda packet. The first one is that we appoint one of the council members as a liaison, and they would actually attend the board or commission meetings and then report back to council on progress on the commission or whatever, and then get direction from council and give it back to the committee at their next meeting. The second option is to have the chair, basically, of the board or commission show up at a regular meeting of the council and present to the council. Third option is to have a joint meeting between the board and the council, or the board or commission and the council. And option 4 is just an annual review, each board and commission's work plans, discuss and improve the work plans as a council. So we are hoping that we can come to a consensus as a council on which one of these options makes sense. I guess there's maybe a fifth option, which would be do nothing, but I think that would be a bad choice under the circumstances, because if we are serious about trying to better connect with our commissions and boards and understand what they're doing, we need to do something different than we've done in the past. So in front of you, you can see that they show on the left column there, it lists the name of the board or commission. It says when they meet, how often they meet. It looks like once a month, and they're all once a month, except for the planning commission. They actually meet the first 3 Wednesdays of the month. So I'll just open up the floor to if anybody has an opinion about which option they prefer. Deputy Mayor?
So you can count on me to be difficult because I like actually 2 options, and I think we could do both. Because, or incorporate somehow. I like option 2 because I think it gives council kind of updates on what each board is doing, and I like that idea. I'm kind of resistant to the council liaison only because I have enough meetings to go to. But I also kind of like 3 combined with 4, where we have a joint meeting, and then we could discuss their work plans and I guess approve their work plans. But I think that way we're getting at least 2 touches, maybe an update once a year, and then also a joint meeting. I think it's important for council to know who's on their boards and commissions and make contact with them after they've appointed them. So that's my opinion.
Does anybody else have an opinion on the options? That one was really confusing. I guess I'll balance that one out with, I like option 1, and I wouldn't volunteer to cover anybody but the planning commission, because I meet with the city manager on Wednesday evenings, so I can't do that one. Councilmember Agnew?
Yeah, I like option 1, and I'll volunteer for the arts and arts.
All right. Councilmember McAuliffe?
Yes, I like option 1, and I would volunteer for Parks and Rec Board and festivals, correct?
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
It's not in the title, festivals, but
I know,
yeah.
it's there. That's what
Pseudo,
it's at.
yeah. Okay. Well, you have volunteers. Let me write these down. Is there anybody else interested in option 1 and would like to volunteer?
Mayor.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. ahead, Liam.
Councilmember Olson.
I think I was leaning in favor of going to different boards or commissions and seeing more of a flavor and not getting locked into one of them. And also I think I'd like them to come back and report to us as well in a regular time interval, but it's my preference.
So you like the idea of option 1 and I guess it would be option 2? A mixture of the two?
More two. I just don't think
Okay.
we should have one designated council member for each board or.
Would you feel better about it if we rotated it on a regular basis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking about this, about attending some of the boards or commissions because of these discussions we've having and having more coordination and interaction with them, and just attending one a month and just rotating depending on what they're discussing or what topic is going on.
Yeah, I'm okay with rotating in. Okay. Councilmember McNeil?
So I'm in favor of actually 1, 3, and 4. 4, I'd like to hear from them annually on what their work plan is and what they're doing and make sure that we're all in cohesion with that. 3, the joint meeting, I don't know how that would take place, if that's a quarterly thing or what it would be. But for me, it would be difficult to lock in, especially like on the Tuesday of each month. The fourth Tuesday, if we have a council meeting or something like that, that might be a little difficult. Then you've got the second Tuesday for lodging and tax, but I think Councilmember Zorns is on that one already, so we don't need to fill that one, I don't think. But I agree with Councilmember Olson. I think that maybe a rotation, but for having a lot of committees, it's going to be difficult for me to lock in and be at those. So, but I would like to hear from the boards and commissions more frequent.
Councilmember Zorns, you want to weigh in?
Well, and I think I'm on the same page as Councilman Olson. Before we came up with these options, I was thinking I would love to just go to each one of these committees and board meetings a couple times a year for each one of them, just to sit and see the dynamics and hear kind of how they're thinking about things. So however, I think the idea of representation is a great idea. I think I'd be on board for anything. But I personally would love to make the rotation around and just not sit to direct a committee so much as just to be there if they have to answer questions, but just to hear what they have to say and what they're thinking about.
And so the Councilmember Olson and Zorns, then, so you guys wanted to do 1 with rotation, and which one was the other one? Was it 3? 2.
I think I'd like a regular, kind of more formal presentation. I think it kind of really makes that commission or board come together and say, what do we want to present to the council, and makes them come together and really kind of solidify what they are working on. It's just kind of that cramming before the test, what are we going to say to the council? And, it's that moment of enlightenment. It's like, yeah, this is what we're working on right now.
So to try to find a majority, and Deputy Mayor, you said basically all of them except
1. I said 2, and then some sort of joint meeting.
so 2, 3, and then 4?
Yeah, well, the joint meeting would have a work plan discussion as part of it.
All right, so we have 3 council members that just wanted 1. We had 1 council member that wants 1, 3, and 4. 1 council member who wants 2, 3, 4, and the 2 council members that want 1 and 2. So I don't know, quite sure what to do with that. Maybe I would propose, because we just need 1 more council member to just fall in line, basically, to do option 1. If we just give it a try and bring it back in a year, would that sway anybody to say? And we can rotate it too. The only thing that I would caution about rotating it is that we would want the liaison to kind of be the point person or responsible party to make sure that there's some continuity about the reporting from the board to the council and that type of thing. I worry about that a little bit if we keep swapping the person out that's coming from council to their board or commission meeting. But I'll leave it at that.
I have a comment on that. I'm really not for option one. I think it's intimidating to have someone from council attend meetings, and I just remember back to when I was on a board and commission, I would find it difficult, I think, to have, do our normal work when there's a council member sitting there. I really do, but that's my opinion.
All right, so Councilmember McNeil.
If we do decide to do number one, it would be important to make sure that we do it like we do our committee updates.
Right,
maybe?
that was the concept, yeah.
Okay, all right.
So did we sway you to try just doing option one for a year?
I had one. I already picked one.
So but you still want 1, 3, and 4, or do you want to just try one?
I can try one.
Look at that. We have a majority. Sorry, guys, on this end of the table, or dais. So let's try that. And let's keep in mind, too, so going forward, that's the direction of council, is that we're going to do option one. So we have Arts Committee is going to be Agnew. Landmark Preservation Board, I'll take that one. Then we have Zorns on the Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. Parks and Rec, we have Councilmember McAuliffe. And so we have the Planning Commission. Deputy Mayor, we'll do that.
Can I do one? Or do I have to do both? Can we split it?
Yeah, just you're the liaison, so you can figure out whatever works there for you guys. And then just keep in mind too, I mean, these other things are great too, to do options 2, 3, and 4 as well. It's just costs money. You know, it takes time, staff time, and everything else, and time for us at our committee or our council meetings. So I think taking baby steps is probably a good thing to do, just to try option one, see if that makes any headway, and make sure they feel connected to us and we feel connected to the boards and commissions. Councilmember McAuliffe?
And I guess my question would be, because I did like one a lot, do we come back and report then to the council? Kind of, is that, or do we have them present and we add to that?
So you, as the liaison, the council member would present. So I think it's on the third Tuesdays that we have council committee reports. And so that would just be one of your council committee reports. And if you have nothing to share, you know, I went to their committee and there's nothing to share, you don't have to share. But if there's something they want to be brought to council, you would be the one that would bring it for them. They'd still be their own board. It's not like you would all of a sudden be in charge and, you know, you're basically there to answer questions if they have questions and bring stuff back to council and then answer, you know, give them the feedback from council. Okay? How we doing on adding over there?
We're doing okay. I have a question for Councilmember Agnew on Shorelines Board. Did you mean to check these names and then have one right in? Okay, so check all 3. We're almost done.
So you guys know this is the most painful part of the year as a council member, is doing the tallying and
As the clerk.
and the clerk as well. This is the worst part.
Yeah, that's true.
We can't move on to the next agenda item, can we, City Attorney? Busted. Sure. Councilmember McNeil?
So I wanted to get a feel for, with all the committee reports that we have now, if the council would be open to having a more frequent, if time allowed, if council members had committee reports. Right now, I'm piled up with about almost 2 months before we get to our next committee update. So just wanted to know if we could maybe have it a little bit more frequent, if folks would be open to that.
Yeah, we could put it on there, and if we don't have anything to report, we just blow past it. Is everybody okay with that? We'll put it on the first and the third. Or should we do this? Is it the second that
No, we removed it from the first and the second and put it on the third.
Okay.
But the second is study sessions, so why don't we try the first and the third and see how that works?
Okay. Does that sound good to everybody? First and third? Okay.
Thank you.
Are you ready? Oh, that we're going to have committee reports on the first and
Oh,
third
first and
Tuesdays?
third. Okay. Okay. All right. I am going to read these, and then we are going to have to go to round 2 for a couple of them. So for Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Shauna Pitts, Chip Peterson, and Nancy Pipinich all received more than 4 votes. Landmark Preservation, so we need one more to fill that board. So we'll have to go to round 2 or extend the recruitment on that one. So Landmark Preservation is Sharon DeMitt, Bill Moritz, Carrie Westerbeck, and Anthony Gomes. So we'll need to either extend recruitment on that to fill it or go to round 2. Library.
Could you tell us who actually had votes? That might help us get over through this.
On Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, Tanya McClendon received 3. We need at least 4. Sean Gerke and Tanya McClendon each received, Sean Gerke received 3, Tanya McClendon received 1, Marcus Barton received 2.
Okay.
So we'll need to either extend or go to round 2. Library Board, we had 2 openings. Becky Birch received 7 votes, and Nidhi Consul received 5 votes. So we're good there. That one's done. Planning Commission, Kevin Kiernan received 4 votes. Aaron Moreau-Cook received 4 votes. We needed 2. They're appointed. So that one's done. Parks and Rec, we needed 3. Mason Thompson received 6 votes. Manny Ocampos received 6 votes. And the rest did not receive 4, so we need 3. We're going to have to open that up. I can tell you Christopher Brown received 1. David Bain received 1. John Senesac received 2. David Cox received 1. Aaron Moreau-Cook received 3, but he was appointed to planning. Sean Gerke received 1. So we'll either have to go to round 2 or extend. Arts and Festivals, we had 3 openings, and those appointed receiving more than 4 votes are Andrew Sobey, Roy Wilkinson, and Karen O'Brien. So that one's done. Shoreline Board. Now this one, we did not receive initially, we did not receive 7 applications, enough applications, but it's on here because some people interviewed. So David Bain received 6, David Cox received 6, Ann Agard received 6, and so we have 4 more. I think we're going to need, may want to extend recruitment, but we can open that up to round 2 as well. For the record, Kevin Kiernan received 1, Marcus Barton received 3 on that. So there you go. Would you like to go to round 2 on Lodging Tax Advisory, Landmark Preservation, Parks and Rec, and Shorelines?
I believe so. Does council want to do round 2? It's tons of fun. Okay.
So give me a minute because I'm going to cross off the names. We'll write appointed across those that got appointed, and that way you know, write them in if they got appointed. So give me just one moment on
Okay.
that one. Thank you.
City Attorney, can we move on to the next agenda item and pause this and make a motion or something and come back to it later in the meeting?
Yeah, if you made the motion to table it and then return at some point in the future, you can.
I mean, like tonight, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It would be a motion to table this item and move on to the next.
Laura, would that help you? Give you a little time, and we can move on to our next agenda item?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to table it until after the presentation of the comprehensive annual financial report.
Second that.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Olson to table this agenda item until after we complete the next item, which is the AB 18023 presentation on comprehensive annual financial report. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead, place your vote. Laura's not there. Go ahead and raise your hand and say aye. You support this? All right, opposed? Passes unanimously. And Tammy's not here. Is she here? Oh, okay, good. Okay, so we'll start on AB 18-023, presentation on comprehensive annual financial report. And without further ado,
waiting, I'm going to pull up her presentation for her.
Team player.
So the finance director's coming.
We're trying to be efficient.
I thought you were going to wait another minute. You had a second round.
We just thought we'd squeeze you in.
Oh, my word. Well, good evening. Let's see. Last Friday, the city was notified that its 2016 CAFR earned the Government Finance Officers Association's Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. This is the highest achievement attainable in government accounting, and the city has received the award annually since 2002. There you are. The CAFR is a 180-page document. It's a technical document that we try to make interesting and understandable, but for the most part is actually prescribed by state and federal agencies and used by auditors, bankers, bondholders, potential bondholders, and credit rating agencies. All of the information in the CAFR is audited by the State Auditor's Office. The whole process begins with the council identifying goals. In 2016, they were called focus areas and were used to develop the city's budget. The CAFR is produced after the fiscal year is completed and therefore presents the results of operations and reveals areas of concerns and strengths. So how does the CAFR convey, what does the CAFR convey about the city's focus areas? The city's fiscal stability is being impacted by increasing costs of public safety and security, thereby impacting the community's quality of life and livability. How do we know this is true? Because expenditures exceeded revenues. The general fund relies on 4 main revenue streams: sales tax, property tax, charges for services, and utility tax. How is the funding used? The majority of the funding is used and allocated towards public safety expenditures. 52% of funding is used for security of persons and property. That's police and fire service 24/7. 23% is for general government, which includes things like the council, clerk, municipal court, human resources, information services, finance, tourism, community events, executive department and administration, disaster preparedness, and human services. 10% is spent ensuring that we have safe and efficient transportation system. 9% is spent on city planning and development services. Largely, those are recouped through the fees for charges, or charges for fees. 3.5% is spent on park maintenance and recreation. Now, thinking back to the first page of the presentation, there was a picture of a $400,000 house in Bothell, and on a $400,000 property, the property owner paid $574 to the city of Bothell. These are all the services that they receive for $574. So it's a pretty good deal. So the obvious questions are, from the information in this document, Why are 2016 expenditures higher than 2016 revenues? And there's two main reasons. A 3% unemployment environment means that it is harder to recruit and retain employees. The second and the biggest reason is because the opiate epidemic, insufficient mental health resources, homelessness, joblessness, and property crimes have put an overwhelming demand on our public safety services. So why is fund balance decreasing? In 2015, a citizen survey was completed here in Bothell. Residents, for the first time, conveyed that they were feeling not as safe as they had in the past. That was something the city took very seriously, and staff. Despite considerable fiscal planning and economic growth, the city has not been able to reinstate strong reserves, and it's because of the opiate epidemic and the fact that we're trying to provide services, and that basically the cost of services is more than the revenues that pay for them. In December 2017, Moody's Credit Rating Service rated the city with a AA2 credit rating, which is in the second tier. It's just under the AAA. So it's very good credit rating, something we should be very proud of. But in their analysis of this document, this is what this 2016 CAFR is what they based their analysis on. And everything that they said in their analysis affirmed what I've told you tonight. The city has a large and growing tax base. The assessed value is $9.9 billion, an increase of 19.3% year over year, and 43% higher than the peak before the Great Recession. The city has an average and manageable debt burden. The city's operating reserves have weakened recently because service delivery levels are straining the general fund. In 2016, voters passed the Safe in Streets and Sidewalks levy, and in 2018, the city is considering a public safety levy to eliminate the rising costs of public safety. And that completes my presentation, and I can take questions.
Nicely done. I like this. Well done. The CAFR doesn't usually look like this over the years, correct? Is this kind of a consumer version of the CAFR? We're trying something new, I guess, is the question.
The CAFR actually looks like on page 2, right above your pictures. It's a blue document, 180 pages. This is us just really paring it down and putting it in layman's terms. The CAFR is a tough document to read.
I'll open up the floor for council questions. Is there questions from council? Deputy Mayor?
So I just wanted to reiterate the question that I asked over email, which was, why is our rating important?
Why is it important? The same as somebody's FICO score. If an individual has a FICO score that is high, then they are deemed to pay their bills and to pay the people that they're in debt to. And it's the same thing with cities. If we go out and we have to incur debt, people are going to give us a better finance rate than they would if we didn't pay our debts. In addition to that, if our FICO score or credit rating goes down, some of our bonds that are outstanding could actually, the interest rate could raise and be risen on those.
Great, thank you. I think that's really important for people to hear and understand why we need to keep that rating high.
Any other council questions? Councilmember McNeil?
Thank you. So you had mentioned the report in 2015 citizen survey. Have we done one since then?
We have not.
Okay, or do we have one maybe planned in the near future?
Normally, citizen surveys happen before a budget,
Okay,
before we initiate that, so I'm sure that'll be looked at shortly.
okay, and in that survey, it's probably not listing why they feel unsafe, is it?
It does not.
Okay, does it also ask questions about their level of service? Are they happy with their level of service?
They were happy with the level of service. They actually rated the city excellent to good, like 94% of people did. So I think it was more a regional, national concern about the homelessness and crime increasing and property crimes and that type of thing.
So maybe not a city-specific thing, but more of a regional.
Exactly, yes.
It just kind of came across within our survey. I want to say thank you for the presentation. Seeing this document here, I'm not sure who worked on it, but it's very easy to read, it's very pleasant on the eyes, and I got to say, thank you. It's versus reading a 100-plus page document, this is a lot better, so
We're
thank
glad.
you.
The council asked us to be more transparent, and since we were meeting all the transparency criteria when we would go to conferences and stuff on the website, we just recognized that we were not putting it in a manner that was easily read and understood. And so we worked very hard on that, and I've got some great staff who make it pretty. But I do want to recognize the Deputy Finance Director, Maureen Wirtz, and besides implementing a financial system this year with her staff, she actually oversees putting the CAFR together, which is a big job, very technical, takes some really smart people to pull it off. So I just wanted to make sure that she was here and had to sit through my presentation and got some recognition.
Any other, Councilmember Olson?
So just relative to other cities, I was just trying to get a gauge of what a AA2 is. A lot of cities are AA1, some are AA2.
Okay, this is the screen that basically says that you have a AA2 is right in the middle between the AA1 and AA3, obviously. A AA3 is actually lower than a AA2. And then every one of the shading colors, the A1, the BA, or double B1 and 2, all of those go further down. And when you get into the Bs, that's where you start talking about junk bonds. Okay, so if that gives you any level, there's only one rating that's higher than us, and that would be the United States of America. I mean, that's who it is.
So do most cities fall in this band that we're in? Or do some get into the next tier down?
I look at a lot of investments every day, and I will tell you that a lot of them are in the A1, A2. Even the banks that you go to, a lot of the major banks in the United States are lower than the city of Bothell. So it is the larger cities in our area in the Puget Sound will be a AA2 or a AA3. But higher than that, we're with the Bellevues and the Kirklands and the larger cities.
Okay, so it's something to be proud of and feel pretty good about.
Yes,
Okay.
a AA2 is very highly regarded.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councilmember, or City Manager Phillips?
I just need to make a point of clarification. We have no plans to do a citizen survey this year. That's a very costly and labor-intensive project. We'll be doing some polling with regards to the public safety levy, and that will give you some feedback from the community on how they're feeling, but not a citizen survey.
Okay, thank you. So I have a question for you. So I guess the green box there really is kind of the take-home message from your presentation, and that is going forward, the city's ability to leverage its one-time and potential new ongoing revenue to stabilize the current budget imbalance and restore fund reserves in line with the A22 rated peers will drive their next rating review in 2018.
What that means is they will be watching us to make sure that we do the prudent thing. The prudent thing is we will go out and we'll ask voters, is this what you want? If a survey came back and said that you have more concerns at night in Bothell than you did in 2008, then we will ask them, what level of service do you want to see from our police and fire and the courts and that type of thing? And then we will put together a budget that meets that criteria. So no matter if the voters vote for the levy or don't vote for the levy, we will come back with a balanced budget. It just means that our services that we provide could be very different than what we have today. But either way, we will do the prudent thing and we will have a balanced budget. I'm sure the city manager will agree with that.
And we'll agree with that too. It's kind of a law. So what is causing the increase? I know you said that the opioid epidemic is a main driver. Is there any other main drivers and why it's so specific around public safety?
We have the 3% unemployment rate means it's really hard to recruit. That means that it drives up the cost of employees, and 82% of the general fund goes towards employees because we provide services. That's what we do. Services require staff in order to do that, and the cost of staff is going up in just about every area within the city. Engineers, it's very hard to bring in engineers. Professional level staff are very difficult to keep right now. And we saw that during the negotiations as well. Very different than it was a decade ago after the Great Recession.
Yeah. Okay, well, I think we know what we need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Appreciate the presentation. So we're back. We're back to agenda item 18-022, which is our committee appointments for round 2.
So, Mr. Mayor, I believe there would have to be a motion to take that item from the table in order to discuss it.
So what does that sound like?
I move to take this item from the table.
I move to take this item from the table.
Second.
Moved by the deputy mayor, seconded by Councilor Agnew to take this item from the table. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead, please, or raise your hand, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Laura's gonna have to watch the tape tomorrow.
Okay, so this is round 2. We are asking you to vote for the following boards and commissions. Lodging Tax Advisory Committee, we need 1. So vote for 1 person. Landmark Preservation Board, we need 2. Parks and Recreation Board, we need 1. And Shorelines, we need 4. Library, Planning Commission, and Arts have all been filled.
So now would be a good time to advocate for the candidates that you would like in those remaining positions, because we don't want to have less than 4 votes on it, but we don't want to do this 3rd round, so. Councilmember Olson?
Yeah, I'd like to say Patrick Ewing had his alternate as the Shorelines Board.
I take that as an endorsement of.
Yes.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
I'd like to advocate for Sean Gerke and Anthony Gomes for Landmark Board. I thought they were 2 really strong candidates with a lot of energy. So.
Sorry again, that was Sean Gerke and who?
Anthony Gomes.
Okay. Any other support for candidates? For the Landmark Preservation Board, Sean Gerke and Anthony Gomes, Deputy Mayor.
Anthony
supported.
Gomes was appointed.
Oh, he
in the
was?
Yes, the 1st round.
Oh, his name wasn't written in.
Okay.
And then Tara McClendon, I'm going to put her for LTAC because she said she was willing to do anything, and I thought she was great.
Okay, I'm going to clarify. For Landmark Preservation Board, we need 1. There was Sharon Dimmitt, Bill Moritz, Carrie Westerbeck, and Anthony Gomes were all appointed, so we just need one on landmark preservation. My mistake, sorry.
So for LTAC, I was going to support Tara McLennan in the open position. Councilmember Zorns?
Is it Tanya McClendon? Did she just want to be in arts and nothing else?
She said she was willing to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So, Mayor?
Councilmember McNeil?
So David Cox he's down on Shoreline,
Correct.
so he's not in Parks, correct?
Well, he's been appointed to a board, so he can't serve on two boards.
So we can cross him off, so he shouldn't be available there.
Yep.
Is that the same true for David Bain?
Correct.
So there's only two in that line that are available, unless you want to look for somebody else outside of that. That'd be Christopher Brown and John Sinasak?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm going to endorse John Senasak. I'm going to vote for him.
We're waiting on Jane again.
So let's do the same thing we did last time, give the city clerk a little time. And is there a motion to table this item again? Can we table twice? Okay.
I motion to table this item until after the discussion of AB 18024.
Second.
It's moved and seconded by Councilmember, or moved by Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councilmember Agnew, was it? Did you beat him yet? No. To table this item until after AB 18-024. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, raise your hand and say aye if you're in support. Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously, I believe. So we're going to go into AB sorry, 1 second. 18-024. Oh, this is not working. That's fun. Lot P North, Second Amendment to the Development Agreement, and the city manager has a presentation.
I have a very brief presentation for you this evening. The city sold a lot that we refer to as Lot P North to Main Street Properties in August 2016. There was an extension to that agreement that was approved by the council in June 2017. That was a 6-month extension from the dates within the purchase and sale agreement and development agreement for when the property, for when the developer was to begin construction on the property. We gave them a 6-month extension. That extension went to February 8th, 2018 to begin construction on that parcel. When I realized that that date was not going to be met, I contacted Main Street Properties and recommended that a brief or short extension come before council so that the developer would stay within compliance with the development agreement. Council's asked me to watch those properties very carefully. You've had an interest in moving forward with expediency. That was the, as we've talked about before, the spirit of the downtown was to move these properties along so the development could continue and the work in the downtown could continue with the vision that the council has had. So what I prepared, working with Main Street Properties, who's here tonight to answer any questions that the council may have, is an agreement to extend the date for Main Street Properties to begin construction on this parcel to May 26th, to March 26th, 2018. And we also modified the force majeure language within the agreement for the amendment. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. One of the reasons that I'm recommending this extension is I've been working with them on 2 issues. One is I intersected myself into a need that the North Shore School District has with regards to access to their scoreboard. There isn't great benefit for the city to be involved in this, but as a partner, I wanted to be able to make sure that North Shore School District had access to their scoreboard on the Pop Kinney Field. It's something that they don't have currently, and so we wanted to make sure that they had that, and Main Street Properties has been great to coming to the table, trying to figure out some resolution for that. That did cause a bit of a delay, as well as a discussion about the open space on the project. I wanted some more information about that and did take a little bit of time with that as well. And so I think that this extension is reasonable based on the interactions that I've recently had with Main Street Properties.
Okay. Any discussion on, or questions for the city manager? I guess my overarching question is that enough time? A month and a half seems like a pretty short extension.
I think Main Street Properties would be happy to come up and answer that question. That's what we negotiated. We feel it's a reasonable amount of time. I'm trying to follow council direction of having this project go through. My comment to Main Street Properties was, if they can't make the March 26th date, then we need to sit down and discuss a longer extension, as we did with O and some of the similar conditions that we had for Lot O.
Hi, I'm Kelly Price. I'm the president of Main Street Property Group. Well, relative to the timing, we talked to Gary tonight here about the current permit review process. We have 2 pending permits that are being reviewed by the city. One is the clearing and grading engineering permit, and the other is the foundation permit. We've also submitted a building permit and other permits associated with the project. So if that review proceeds kind of as planned in an expedient manner from this point forward, that should be just fine in terms of a construction start. If there are delays in the permit review process, that will slow it down, and we could be delayed in starting. But from our standpoint, we've hired our general contractor, we've hired our site work and utility contractor, we've hired our concrete contractor. We're ready to go, and really look forward to getting this project started.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks for staying late with us tonight. Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's all right.
Is there any other questions from council, or is there a motion? Questions?
I have a question.
Councilmember McNeil.
So you guys, you have all those contractors are lined up, ready to go. Plans are submitted. How, you have a pretty complete set of plans, you feel, that were submitted?
We've submitted for a building permit. So, you know, the plans are always kind of being refined, but we have submitted for a building permit, which would allow us to complete the entire project.
Okay. And then the pathway between the I think it would be between the building and Pop Kinney.
Correct.
What, can you kind of give us a little bit of information on where we are on that?
So the school district wanted an easier access to their scoreboard as compared to other options that kind of relate to Horse Creek Park. And so we agreed to provide them that access. And there's a tri-party agreement that's been worked on between the city and ourselves and the school district. We've traded several versions of that, and I think we're pretty close to a resolution. But that's from our standpoint. The city's going to have to agree to that, and the school district's going to have to agree to that. But our feeling is that we're very close.
Fabulous. Okay. So you're anticipating getting this thing vertical pretty quick here?
Absolutely. If we could be under construction now with the permit review process, we would be.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none, how about a motion?
I move the recommended action to authorize the city manager to sign the second amendment to the development agreement in substantially the same form as presented.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor, second, and by Councilmember McNeil to authorize city manager to sign the second amendment to the development agreement in substantially the same form as presented. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none,
I'm here.
you're there. Okay, go ahead, place your vote. Passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Look forward to you. I love your new building, by the way, the Junction. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you haven't stopped by the Junction for a tour, please do anytime. Our staff's there all day long, and they'd be happy to show you the project. We also have the 3 main restaurants that are in that project open up towards the end of the first quarter. So there's going to be lots of grand opening activities, and we'll have our own grand opening as well. So that whole area is going to be a hub of activity here in the first part of the year.
We're looking forward to it.
Yep.
Thanks for your partnership with the city. All right, so what's that motion we got to do there, City Attorney, to bring this thing back from the dead?
Motion to untable?
No, to take from,
Keep your table on.
to take from the table.
Motion to take from the table AB 18022.
I'll second it. We have to vote on this, right? Yeah. Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
You're gonna have to do a hand raise.
Okay. Raise your hand and say aye if you support the motion. Aye. Opposed? Passed unanimously. We're back to our favorite agenda item.
Okay, the good news is we have Tanya McClendon received 6 votes for Lodging Tax Advisory Committee. So that one's done. Landmark received, Sean Gerke received 6 votes for Landmark Preservation Board, so that one is done. John Senesac received 6 votes for Parks and Recreation Board, so that one is done. Patrick Ewing received 7 votes for Shorelines Board, so that leaves 3 vacancies left on that to appoint. And that is the one that planning staff has told us that the Shorelines Board does not need to do any work till later in the year, so we could potentially, if you'd like, extend that opening and extend that recruitment through summer.
You don't need a motion for that, or do we need a motion to extend the recruitment?
Sure.
No. Let's just get a head nod. Is everybody done with this? Are we good to leave the Shorelines Board not filled, and we'll extend the, what'd you just call that?
The recruitment.
Recruitment, okay. The recruitment through summer? Everybody feel good about that? Yes, okay. We are done with that agenda. Oh, no, we need
I do need a motion to
Yeah.
ratify the appointments, and if you'd like, I will read who was appointed to what. I don't know if you want me to do that again, but I can.
Would everybody like that, or are we good?
Wait,
Could we have a motion to extend the meeting, please?
Why?
Second.
It's moved and by Councilmember McNeil, second by the Deputy Mayor, to extend the meeting till 9:45. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, place your vote. Can we do that in the middle? Yeah, we can. No. Passes unanimously, so we're back to the ratification of the board and commission nominations. Is there a motion?
Motion to ratify the board and commission appointments.
Second.
It's moved by Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Agnew to ratify the planning, or the board and commission appointments. Any discussion on the motion? I just want to say thanks to everybody that applied, and those of you that did not make it on a board or commission, please don't be defer, or whatever you call it. It's getting late. Please apply again. There's opportunities every year. So, all right. Any further discussion? Councilmember McAuliffe.
And since you aren't, I'm not asking you to read them, but would you submit them to us by email?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Would you submit the ones who have been appointed by email to us?
Yeah, certainly, yes. And I will be notifying all appointees, and actually, I will be notifying all applicants, regardless of whether they were appointed this evening or not, this week, so between tomorrow and Friday. So, but I will definitely send you a list of who's appointed, what their terms are, et cetera. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead and place your vote. Passes unanimously. So we are on to, oh, there it is, AB 18-020, which is the second amendment to the city manager's employment contract. I am the staff member to provide a presentation. So there's a couple of things here I kind of wanted to point out. First of all, I was involved with negotiating the city manager's original contract. And at the time, and I believe it says in the council memo as well, that she took a, I think it was $20,000 pay cut from her prior job because she wanted to come to the city of Bothell. So actually, you know what? I'm going to stop with the money for a second here. I want to take a step back and just talk about a few things. The city manager has been here for about a year, and a little over a year. And I do have somewhere in this pile of paperwork her performance evaluation, and there was a part of it that I just wanted to read because it just strikes me as interesting. And I can read this out loud, right? Or no? The evaluation? Or, okay. So, you know, it says the, oh, what did I do with it? So the accomplishments. So there were objectives in her performance evaluation, or in her work plan, and quite frankly, she met all of those. But then there was this other list. So let's see. She secured 4 labor agreements without a human resources director. She made changes to the leadership team and was able to find highly talented personnel. So we're all staffed now. She created the tourism program, purchased the Wayne Golf Course, started to revamp the Parks and Recreation Department, successful implementation of the highly controversial class compensation study, and management of the city-owned downtown properties, and strong negotiations with developers to protect the city's interests. And she did all that while running a $100 million organization. So, and we had council goals that we kind of layered on top, and we talked about that at our council retreat, that those were all definitely taken up on, in addition to operating the $100 million a year operation. So I just wanted to bring that up, and just, to me, that this was a really tough year for the city manager for reasons outside of her control. One of the main ones was that her town that she was the city manager of basically burned to the ground, including her own property. And she needed to take time to do that. And she also had some other things come up. But at the end of the day, an amazing amount of work was accomplished. I've worked with very few city managers, but I quite frankly feel like you run circles around people in your profession, and it's just super impressive. So I wanted to bring that up. There was another thing too that I think is important to point out, and there's a 25% gap typically in pay between men and women in executive positions. In the city manager profession, there's only about 13% of the people in the profession that are actually women. And so we've talked a lot about equality on council and trying to make sure that we do our part as a community to make sure that equality is seen and felt throughout our community. And I think, at least for me, one of the best things that we could do that is to show our support of our city manager and also show the support of and make sure that people of both genders are treated equally in the profession. So I think that's reflected in the contract amendment that we're looking at. There's another thing too that I've really appreciated about Jennifer, and we knew that there were some issues amongst the city operations, but there was actually things that we really didn't know, and Jennifer did a great job, or the city manager did a great job in identifying those and bringing those forward to us, and making sure the council acted upon those in the best way possible. So. Dear to my heart is the improvement to the morale. I've been here, especially as the mayor of the city, for 2 years, and I can tell you I didn't like the feeling, and I know that the morale of the organization was rock bottom, basically. We had changed the leadership in the city, and I have great news that I've heard from multiple sources that the morale has never been better. So to see that happen over a year's time with all of the, frankly, a tragic year for the city manager personally, and just watching how she has worked so hard to keep this organization, or to actually take this organization to a new level of professionalism. My hat's off to you. I'm really happy with the decision that we've made to bring you on board. So. That's my staff presentation of the contract amendment, and I guess we'll open it up, or if somebody wanted to, just so everybody knows, we're going into a performance evaluation after this, which is to talk about next year, and so that'll be in executive session, establishing what are the objectives of the city manager's duties for the 2018 calendar year. So with that, okay, back to the money real quick. So by making these increases, we did some homework, and we found that we are getting her up to speed with her peers in the area. We did bring her in below where her peers were, and so the amendment does bring her up to speed. The city manager, I believe, is happy with her amendment. She worked on it with Councilmember Agnew. Councilmember Agnew, thank you for doing that with her. And with that, I guess we can open the floor for questions, or make a motion to pass the amendment. Did I bore you guys all to sleep? There we go. Councilmember McNeil.
I just want to make a few comments. Been on council 2 years, first couple years of council, just getting to know how things work. But I can tell you the relationship that as a council member that I now have with you, Jennifer, city manager, for what you've done for me personally as a council member and explaining things to me now. I feel like not only myself as a council member, but our city is in great hands. And I look now at the positivity around this building. I think I said at the very first meeting of the year that it changed from the last 2 years. So thank you very much for your leadership and everything that you're doing and bringing to our city.
Councilmember Agnew.
Well, as the old guy up here, I can tell you that you're the best city manager I've seen here. I hope you remain here for any prolonged period of time. I've been impressed with your professionalism, your attitude. The only thing that scares me is don't burn yourself out. You're kind of like that Energizer bunny, but I'm very pleased with everything.
Deputy Mayor.
First, I want to thank Councilmember Agnew for doing the hard work of having to be our representative. And I said something at the retreat, which I meant with all my heart, and I just thought it was important for the rest of the community here to hear, which is, for the first time in that room, I felt like we were all on the same team. And I think it's important for the community to feel that and understand what it means to be all rowing in the same direction. So I thank you for that. and you've had a rough year, so 2018 can only get better.
Any newbies don't want us to have anything to say? No? No? Councilmember McAuliffe? Good? Okay.
I'll make a motion.
We need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we move the recommended actions.
Second.
It's moved by Councilmember Agnew, seconded by Councilmember McNeil to authorize the city manager to sign her own second amendment. No, wait, this is the wrong one. Whoops. That would be interesting, wouldn't it? I believe it's me to sign. Hold on, sorry. This thing's not. Oh, that's why. There it is. Okay. So the motion and second is to authorize the mayor to sign the addendum to the Second Amendment to the employment contract with City Manager Phillips. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead and place your vote. Passes unanimously. So we are going to go into, we need to make a motion to extend, don't we?
Yep.
I motion to extend until 10, oh, not, what time is it?
9:30.
10:15. Is that long
45
enough?
minutes enough time? Okay. I'll second it. So it's moved and seconded to extend the meeting till 10:15. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, go ahead, place your vote. Passes unanimously. So we are going to we're not going to come back to make any decisions. Okay. Not coming back to make any decisions. We're going to executive session for performance evaluation pursuant to RCW 4230 110 1G. And after that, the council will be adjourned.